So not too long ago, I made this video about Chris Jones, the bodybuilder, personal trainer, and YouTuber. And I pointed out that although he's not red-pilled, although he's not MGTOW or related to the manosphere or anything like that, he engaged in very careful appraisal of the merits of marriage. As a businessman, as a savvy businessman, he looked at the failure rate. He looked at the fact that the vast majority of divorces are initiated by women, that, at least in his stats, he said 40% of marriages fail. It's much closer to half, and we're not talking about cheap it or keeper and, you're not tearing each other's throats out types of marriages. And he came to the conclusion that it's just not a good deal for him, particularly because he's doing quite well. He's probably by now quite wealthy. And so what I want to cover today is the kinds of blue pill mentalities and how one can be effectively a blue pillar and still be savvy to the idea that marriage, given the current and, well, for decades now, environment is probably not the best idea. So you take someone like Chris Jones, very savvy businessman. He invests his money. I think last year he built a personal gym. He trains there. Probably costs at least tens of thousands of dollars. It's an investment, and there's a return on it, obviously. He uses it. It's probably good for his business. However, you're about to listen to a guy named Force Gaming. Now, I'm not putting Force Gaming on the spot just to say, look at Force Gaming, he's an idiot. Force Gaming is a guy who kind of fell into YouTube. He used to do, years ago, StarCraft guides and strategy guides. And now he's over 700,000 subscribers. He's very popular. And he used to have a kind of show, if you will, a podcast called The Force Feed. It was quite good, gaming news. And he used to be sub to him back when he was still good. These days, he just uploads 5-minute clips of shitty Overwatch play, to be honest. And it's not the best channel, in my opinion. But he's grown a lot. He's grown a lot, and he's obviously doing quite well. So have a listen to this little clip here, and you'll see what I'm talking about. So let's have a listen.
As our buddy Soldier would say, I'm not a young man anymore. So how he says something like that. I'm not, I'm an old guy. I got a lot of stuff on my plate. I got a lot of things to think about. I'm getting married soon. I got a mortgage that I got to think about paying for. I'll be having kids in the next few years. I got to have to think about their fucking college tuition. Hell, I'm basically almost retired.
Now, that was Force Gaming, and I want you to think about the kind of mentality that begets this sort of nonchalant attitude about things and matters that are quite serious. He says he has a lot of things to think about. A mortgage, taking on a mortgage on a home, marriage, children. Fine, if he desperately wants those things. But I think you can get a sense of the kind of guy Force is based on watching his videos, how he fell into YouTube in general, is the kind of guy who just kind of falls into things. He's not like Chris Jones. They're both blue pillars, effectively, but he's not the type of guy who sits down and writes a list of pros and cons, and here, this is pro and this is a con. He's just sort of, his girlfriend, he probably got the girlfriend after he achieved success on YouTube. Wonder why, and hypergamy. And, is going to be married soon. He's not probably thinking about it. Now, I want to point out in the case of Force Gaming that this guy's life, I don't begrudge him, it's incredibly easy, especially these days. He literally uploads every couple of days a 5-minute video of some footage he took, makes some commentary. He even makes fun of himself waking up at 2 p.m. in the afternoon and uploading a video. He's got an incredibly cushy and lucrative lifestyle. I know for a fact that Chris Jones works 10,000 times harder. And I don't think he realizes how lucky he is. Hell, I make it probably a tenth of what he makes. I'm not even a full-time YouTuber, and yet I feel incredibly lucky to make some money off of YouTube and not to be forced into an office job role or to work in manual labor like I have in the past. But the problem, I think, with Force's mentality here is that he just sort of fell into the YouTube thing, has done spectacularly well. Who knows how much money he makes. And one day he'll probably hit 1 million subs. He's at 700,000 plus. But if you're doing really well, that well, and you're going to take out a mortgage and get married and possibly have children, who knows what state he lives in? I don't. But that is just a very, very risky decision. There are stories of YouTubers who've done really well that end up, asking for donations to cover divorce court fees. It's not unheard of. Now, of course, Force probably won't see this video. I hope that he does. And I hope that he really thinks long and hard before he gets married. Because, as I said, this guy obviously has a fantastic life. Who among us would not like to just upload a 5-minute video every 2 days of just some footage and, frankly speaking, you just blathering over it and making per video hundreds of dollars off of a video like that? I mean, who wouldn't want that kind of lifestyle? I would like to have that, I'm not going to lie. But I don't begrudge him that. I think it's great. The worry I have concerning him and what this specific type of blue pill mentality is that he's not thinking about how lucky he has it. And he's like, oh, I'll just get married. Oh, what's the worst that can happen? Oh, I'll take out a mortgage. Kind of all the things to what would women say, to man up, to not be that man child anymore. And I think he's going to see once he's married that whatever good he thought might come of it, of course, his wife is going to allow him to keep on running his business or his YouTube channel because obviously that's why she's marrying him in the first place. But it's not going to be the same, and it's very risky. Remember, women divorce most of the time because they're unhappy, not because of money. And the money comes later, sure, in the divorce court. But I wanted to just point out this very, I think, profound distinction between a guy like Chris Jones, who's obviously a businessman and looks at everything in terms of a business proposition, and a kind of, I'm not too dissimilar to Forrest in this regard, kind of like a geeky guy who used to make StarCraft guides, who fell into YouTube, kind of found his niche, people like listening to him, he seems nice and approachable, whatever, and I'm going to get married, I'm going to need a mortgage, I'm going to have kids, blah, 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 and not really giving sufficient weight to these type of decisions given the legal situation in the United States, or any Western country for that matter, but the United States is particularly bad. And if he's in a state like California, well, even worse. I don't think he is, but... So, a blue pillar, to my mind, is not a blue pillar, which is to say there are different types. You don't need to be completely red-pilled and aware of gynocentrism and evolutionary psychology and just female nature in general, at least completely clued in, to get a sense that marriage is probably not the best idea. But in the case of Force Gaming, he's potentially throwing away his entire life, a really great life, mind you, for a very risky endeavor. Now, I should address the fact that some men just desperately want to have children. Maybe he's one of those men. In which case, yes, then you have to take that risk. I mean, I think if a man wants to have children in a conventional way these days, I mean, if you're not independently wealthy, although he probably could hire a woman to birth his children from and then take custody if you really wanted that, but given how successful he is. But maybe he's one of these guys. But he still, despite that, should take into account the risks involved. I mean, I, for one, if I had his life, I would never throw it away for marriage. I wouldn't even throw away my significantly less wealthy and less pleasant life for something like marriage. And taking out a mortgage of all things. I mean, taking out a mortgage these days, who does that? More to the point, one thing I have to remark on is that when I first got started in watching Barbarossa videos, I think I started watching them sometime in 2010. And then I started making videos in 2011. I mean, back then, the information available pertaining to marriage, the idea that it's very risky, that it's potentially dangerous, that you could lose a lot, including your life, I mean, this was just not well known. Now, I've never been personally interested in marriage for as long as I could think, because I observed my own parents. They're not divorced, but my mother nagged my father constantly. It didn't seem like a nice thing. And I observed the people around me, friends, childhood friends whose parents got divorced, and even when they weren't divorced, were engaged in the usual at each other's throats nonsense. So, never really appealed to me, but back then, 6-7 years ago, it wasn't this sort of common knowledge thing. But I hate to say it, in the current year, 2017, it seems to me that, at the very least, every Tom, Dick, and Harry should know about the risks to marriage, particularly in an North American context. And if you don't know, I don't know what planet you're living on. I mean, a guy like Force, I mean, maybe he has his head stuck up his ass. Maybe he's got his head stuck up video games. Obviously he does. That's his job. But to not be aware of these things. He says he needs to think about this stuff. Well, I hope he's thinking since long and hard and sincerely about this very risky endeavor he's going to be engaging in. Threefold: marriage, taking out a mortgage, and having children. This guy's going to hit 1 million subs one day. That's a very lucrative lifestyle with minimal work. And I think that lifestyle could be destroyed if he goes along with it. I mean, maybe it won't be, but it's a very risky thing. And I just want to point out this very, I think, profound distinction between blue pillars who think in terms of business and are very savvy about things, and guys, and I can kind of relate, who just sort of fall into things. A lot of the jobs I've done, I sort of fell into. I didn't seek to become a YouTuber, part-time YouTuber, which is to say. But I doubt that he did either. Probably liked playing StarCraft back in the day, was good at it, made guides, yada, yada, yada. But now that he's achieved success and he's well known, he needs to give serious thought to the risks involved in what he's about to do. And I just can't fathom why any man in his position would do that. I mean, looks like to be in his early 30s. Why would you throw that away, man? Anyway, I hope he watches this video and does some research. At the very least, he can do some research and check out the stats, particularly in his own state. Taking out a mortgage, all of this stuff. It's his life, but in this day and age, even a person who's just sort of who's a kind of geeky, I fall into things kind of guy needs to be aware of this. It's 2017, and the information is out there. Anyway, I wanted to point this out. I hope he watches this video, but just to point out that there are different types of blue pillars out there, and they have different attitudes and mentalities. Everyone, thanks for tuning in. I will check you out very soon. Enjoy your weekend. Bye-bye. And as always, may the gods watch over you. If you liked this video, please like, share, and subscribe. And if you enjoy my content, please consider making a donation or becoming a patron. Thanks for watching.